All right, it's end of the week, so MCU, DCU stuff, and Frankenstein. Oh, and a little Star Wars tidbit. How about that, huh? Yeah, with me, Mr. Nailsin. So anyway, typically it's easier if I just stick with comic book news. And I'm lazy and pressed for time, you understand. So we'll just stick with cosmic book news, summarizing all this stuff. So in this article, James Gunn laughs at Zack Snyder's Justice League. Well, not really. He's laughing at the problems because people are asking, hey, how do you do the canon with Peacemaker and all of that, especially since the Justice League appeared? And it was based on, the DCEU Justice League at the end of Peacemaker Season 1. And the obvious answer, which he spells out, is that, yeah, everything that happened is canon except that. So going forward, I guess that scene will be taken out and you just won't see it. It's unfortunate. I mean, I suppose they could reshoot it with their new Justice League, but they're ways away from developing a Justice League. They're starting with Superman, and that's all you got so far. There'll be a Green Lantern show, but for the most part, it's all this other Creature Commandos, which was originally just going to be this animated series he's going to do based out of his approach to Suicide Squad. And then, lo and behold, they scrapped all the plans and gave him the keys to the kingdom to start a whole new, different universe altogether. It would have been cleaner to just start over from scratch, but I don't know. I guess they liked the numbers on Peacemaker. I liked the show. It was good. I even liked his Suicide Squad. So, best of luck on that, but there's just so many stumbling blocks. It's hard to get a clear pathway out of all the mess that keeps occurring, and so many things in the way for this to even begin, which it hasn't yet. Everything is depending on that Superman movie, and if it bombs, this is over. Since they're already working on Lanterns, of course, Peacemaker Season 2, Lanterns, and the Supergirl movie will probably get released by then, but for the most part, they just get dumped on Max. I mean, I guess Supergirl will get a theatrical release, but when Superman bombs, that's it. And then you just bank everything on Batman again, and I guess that's up to Matt Reeves after that, So anyway, he was talking about that and the canon. Now, the only thing about it is he was just, when asked if canon matters anymore, Gunn replied with a laugh, well, one of the weird things to me is none of this is real. It may be alarming to people, but none of it is real. It's all just stories we're telling about characters. Then you could start over clean and just forget all about Peacemaker Season 1. No? Oh. Yeah. I mean, he's sticking with his original thing that the canon begins with, well, basically Creature Commandos and then Superman and so on and so forth. Well, that makes sense because he's just starting out. We've seen no real product. I mean, technically speaking, you could say Blue Beetle was, but it's only because it's a very isolated movie from the other DC films at the time. But that's it. Then the canon's going to happen. You've got this whole overarching story you keep talking about, which the Lantern series will give more of a tease of, apparently. And some speculate it's going to be a live-action movie version of Justice League New Frontier, where the Center was the main adversary and that sort of thing. It could be, or something akin to that, or, a new iteration, if you will. And okay, fine, but there you go. You've already made canon. So the idea, canon, but if you want to think Greedo and Batman go on adventures together, you can pretend. You know what it is. That's just the silliness. Some of this can't really answer questions, especially since, hey, why was this big switch done in the first place? I suspect it had more to do with money, some bruised egos here and there, and that sort of thing. And James Gunn was just the guy they brought in. That's that. So it's more business decisions than anything else. It's unfortunate, and it's caused yet a massive stumbling block because these guys are gone, and there was a following for them. Not so much for the direction and the films as they were. There was all kinds of flaws within them, but generally they were accepted as those characters. And it's unfortunate how it happened that way. It doesn't necessarily have to doom DCU, but it's just another thing on top of all the other problems and, scandals and whatnot, that's hindering this thing before it ever sees the light of day, which is unfair, but it is what it is. So it's like the Superman movie could be good, but it can't just be good. It has to be really good. And plus it's running up against the landscape that's been ruined by Marvel movies that just decided to go to crap. So, these things happen. But yeah, Superman bombs. That's it for DCU. So you'll get this cartoon. You'll get Lanterns, Supergirl, and I think that's it. Oh yeah, Peacemaker. That's it. And everything is on Batman. Sadly, not this one, but the Matt Reeves one. So, and Penguin did very well. That was a great show. So, it's weird. It's like this and that works. If you can't get it to be all uniform. DC just hasn't. It just hasn't been able to do it. It's like it's cursed. I don't know. Anywho, other thing is about this was something Gunn announced about actors who do the voices of characters will also play the live action version. And so Frank Grillo will be doing the voice of Flag Senior here, and he's also in the Superman movie. And so there you go. That explains that. So, but wait a minute, Alan Tudyk is playing Dr. Phosphorus, but he also revealed he's playing Clayface. Wait a minute, man. Well, look at what Dr. Phosphorus looks like. Now, I don't know if you'll get a scene where Alan Tudyk looks like him in any future. Like, that's what he used to look like. He used to look like Alan Tudyk. Maybe they'll do that. But this is what he looks like. So he would be a CGI character, probably a guy, obviously in a mocap suit and that kind of thing. But that's what you would see with Alan's voice. And, he alters his voice for whatever the character. But he's also playing Clayface. Well, what's Clayface? He would also be a CGI. Mostly CGI character. He's a shape-shifting character, so he'll look like multiple people, and different actors would be playing him. And maybe Alan Tudyk would be his original form if they give an origin story to him. I guess the Matt Hagen version. There's been several Clayfaces. And that's all there is to it. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Beyond, this is actually from Harley Quinn, but he's gonna be in that's Clayface appearing before you even get Batman introduced. Which it's an interesting conundrum there. As thanks to Penguin, I think the Batman franchise is a little more popular than it probably was even before that. So what do you do? Well, that's a story for another time, I suppose. But anyway, that's all that is. He could do voice acting on different characters, especially characters like this. If he was playing a Frank Grillo, then yeah, you can't then have him play Superman. In animated or live action, and it's, that would violate the rule if you're going to call it that. But no, it's not that big of a deal, I don't think. So speaking of Frank Grillo, he saw the trailer. He says it's great and it's wonderful, and David Cornsweat's going to be a superstar and all that because he's just that good. Problem is, Frank Grillo's in the movie, so of course he's going to say it's good. But maybe this is his true feelings on the matter, that he's really hyped for it. And it was a really great trailer, and I hope it is. And I hope this works out and is a big success. And that would be really great. It's also cool. A lot of practical sets and stuff. Been seeing that. I like that approach, and hopefully it'll work out. But time will tell. And trailers, well, a great trailer can be a trailer to a god-awful movie. a bad trailer can be a trailer to a great movie, which of course would be to the detriment. But so it's difficult to judge this on that alone. But if it's hits all the points that one would expect and get excitement about Superman, then you got something. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Meanwhile, over at the MCU, the director is talking about some plot leaks that may or may not be true. So McCloy here goes, as previously pointed out, a synopsis released by Marvel.com stated Florence Pugh returns as a depressed assassin, Yelena Belova. Which, I mean, she's depressed, her sister died, and all that sort of stuff. So I guess carrying on from that. Although I would have thought there was some amount of resolution to this in Hawkeye, but that was mostly just her anger at Hawkeye, and they dealt with that. So it's understandable that she's not a happy camper. So that appears to be the driving force for her. She reunites with her stepfather and so on and so forth in the movie. So another plot synopsis has apparently said Julia Louis-Dreyfus Valentina forms the team and they do bad things, which makes the flick sound a lot like DC's Suicide Squad. It is. It's a Suicide Squad. Thunderbolts wasn't originally that, and the original story would be much better, but there is absolutely no setup within the MCU to accomplish this. So it's just going to be Suicide Squad, which is what Thunderbolts in the comics as well became. Bunch of villains being made to do good deeds, that sort of thing, or for the most part anyway. The actor in Empire Magazine decided to clear this up. Said, I've seen a lot of synopses out there that just say it's as though it's a fact that it's a team assembled by Valentina to do bad things. I understand why that would be the assumption, but that is not the story. It's probably mostly the story. Now, she's been showing up here and there and all over the place, but probably most of the movie-going audience won't even know any of that. So it probably doesn't really matter. Anyway, he says this is apparently mostly led by Florence Pugh's Yelena. It says she's front and center. Yelena's in a certain place at the beginning, depressed. And how she finds her way out of that place and who she finds herself out of that place with is at the heart of the story. So there you go. See? So, here they are. They're silly, aren't they? Silly. But the problem here is between this and the Captain America movie, this one is probably the better of the two. But I don't think there'll be much interest in it. It should have been like a Bucky Barnes movie at best, and then like he assembles the team, you know? Most people don't know who any of these people are. He was the most interesting character in that crappy Falcon Winter Soldier series, but you know, again, most people don't know. She looks great in the suit, but she's a gender-swapped character. The other gender-swapped character, pretty girl, don't get me wrong, but it's a gender-swapped character. Know her from Black Widow, of course. She was in Hawkeye, but how many saw that? I actually know who this guy's playing, but the movie-going artist doesn't know. And then, of course, you know, David Harbour being goofy and stuff. And that's what you get. But in those trailers they've released are pretty lackluster. So, yeah, there's not much high hopes there, even though it may actually be just an okay film, you know? So anyway, and so Feige says, hey, look, it's just like the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy because we take all these different people and bring them together and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, there you go. They're not being formed by Valentina to do bad things. They're being formed to do other things that may or may not turn out bad, but end up being good or something. Meanwhile, as for the future, Kevin Feige confirms Fantastic Four for Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars. Well, no surprise there. It's just their movie will explain how they get to the MCU after their world gets destroyed by Galactus. So, I already know all that. But they'll show up in Avengers Doomsday, because the Avengers, whoever that is, probably mostly the Thunderbolts and a couple of others. It's Spider-Man. And then they'll say, hey, who's this guy who looks like Tony Stark? Well, I don't know who Tony Stark is, but that guy is Doctor Doom, and he's an asshole. I can't believe he escaped with us, but he did. Oh, yeah? Yeah. And then they end up on a cliffhanger and have to finish this in Secret Wars. So there you go. That's how that happens. Meanwhile, you got the X-Men, and this is, Feige confirms, yeah, they're going to set up the X-Men. And really, since they screwed up following Endgame, which I thought should have gone more street-level characters and stuff like that, could have saved money and whatnot. Well, whatever, they didn't do it. And so now the approach will be the X-Men would form more of a foundation for their Marvel movies going forward. And it's not a bad idea. So that'll give them a foundation to rest upon as they decide what to do with, more than likely, they're going to be rebooting other characters as well. So wants Hugh Jackman to stick around. I imagine he'll have an appearance in Secret Wars of some sort. And then after that, you're recasting the X-Men. Talks of Henry Cavill to be the new Wolverine. He's the only other actor to play the character, albeit very briefly and more for a side gag, but nevertheless, they could have done this with multiple actors in that movie, but he's the only one. The other alternate versions of Wolverine was all Hugh Jackman. So it is interesting that it went that way, but I don't know that means he's the new Wolverine going forward. Says the new Storm will debut in What If Season 3. So, okay, keep an eye on that. So that's the deal. So at post Secret Wars, there's going to be X-Men films on the way, and it does make sense. And I assume that these will be, at least make the attempt to be somewhat closer to their comic book origins, as opposed to how the Fox films did. And Hugh Jackman can only do this for so long. And hopefully they'll give him a good send-off in Secret Wars, even though he already had the best send-off in Logan. But, well, that was an alternate version. This is a different Wolverine. But there you go. You can't repeat Deadpool and Wolverine forever. As far as Henry Cavill being cast as Scott Summers in this, I guess, fan art, I doubt it, but, you never know. So there you go. There's MCU and DCU. So meanwhile, in the horror world, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So you got Guillermo del Toro doing a monster movie, which is pretty good. You got Jacob Elordi playing the monster, who was one of those guys rumored to be Superman, but David Cornsweet won out. So anyway, Vanity Fair had this image from the set, and the monster, I'm assuming this is the monster's corpse, in Dr. Frankenstein's lab, and yet it looks like an unfinished CGI, body or video game body, and yet it is the set. I mean, you see the filming equipment, like this is holding the microphone for the actor. So I don't know. I guess it's just the makeup makes it look that way. It's just, or it's this prop, whatever. It's not, maybe not finished, or maybe they'll CGI it to make it look more lifelike later. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But man, look at the mess. Jeez. Oh, man, you don't want to smell that. Dr. Frankenstein at work. Yeah, you really need you can't just wash your hands after work. You need a full-on shower and everything. But anyway, there you go. That's the deal. And the synopsis is described as Pretorius tracks down Frankenstein's monster, who is believed to have died in a fire 40 years before, in order to continue the experiments of Dr. Victor Frankenstein. So I don't know if this will be told, like flashbacks will detail the Frankenstein story. I don't know. And Pretorius, he's the guy who was in Bride of Frankenstein, the Universal version, who came back and talked Dr. Frankenstein into doing make a bride for Frankenstein and all that. Whereas, you know, the original story, they end up at the North Pole and everything. I don't know how much of this will be its own thing, even though it looks of the era. But hopefully it's good. It's been a while. People have tried to revive, you know, these old characters and creatures and whatnot. You know, and I guess Dracula has had more success at somewhat, but not of late. Of course, that Nosferatu movie looks cool. So hopefully this works out. Guillermo del Toro is very good at, you know, the mood and atmospherics and whatnot. So, you know, I'm intrigued. So we'll see how that plays out. And finally, back to Henry Cavill. Well, he's rumored for all kinds of stuff, not just Wolverine. But now, Star Wars. So this is Matt McGloin saying they're thinking he might be in the Simon Kinberg trilogy, which I have no real hope. There's so many. How, you know, another one announced that there's more movies announced that never happened than there are than any they did announce, and that includes the shows as well. So it talks with him to play a Jedi in these movies, which is, you know, this is Zack Snyder took this picture because he and J.J. Abrams were joking with one another while J.J. was working on Force Awakens and he was working on was it Batman versus Superman or Justice League? I can't remember which one, but anyway, that guy. So he had Cavill dress up as a Jedi. You can see it. Sorry about that, but you could see the Superman symbol underneath. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. I mean, the poor guy gets screwed over so many times. Hopefully his Highlander movie's cool and his Warhammer stuff works out. I don't know about Voltron, but he's signed up for that too. But the crap that Star Wars has produced, I don't know. And Henry Cavill in a cool Star Wars movie would be great. But there just doesn't seem to be any possibility of a cool Star Wars movie anytime soon. But good luck. Still think he should be given a shot at James Bond. I think that'd be the best outcome for him of all, you know. Would have been great to see him to get a good Superman film, but that's not in the cards. But why not Bond, you know? Anyway, there we go. That's all I got for this Friday Nailsin ratings. And we'll do it again next week. Thanks for watching.